Hi everyone, welcome back to the Davis Smiths. In today's video, we are going to show you how to deploy an Angular application and ASP.NET Web API application in IIS. And if you're building a full stack application and you want to host them on a Windows machine using IIS, I think this tutorial is for you. So let's dive in. So before starting the deployment, I will just make sure that your IIS is correctly configured. So let me bring my IIS. Just write turn Windows features. Okay, just expand the Windows Internet Information System or IIS. Expand Worldwide Web Services. Expand the first one, the application deploy development features. So here you have to click everything except the CGI. Okay, and the next one, you just have to unclick the HTTP redirection and the web dev publishing. On the next health and diagnostics section, you just have to click the HTTP logging. On the performance section, you just have to click the static content compression, and on the security section, you just have to click on the security the request filtering. Okay, so that's all. You just have to click or unclick this configuration, then click OK, and then just restart the IIS, and you should be ready to go. Now we have two applications. One of them is the web API itself, and another one is the Angular application. Okay, so let me just run the web API. So this is just a simple web API application, and there is a controller method. If I run it, so here are all the products that I already hard coded in the controller, and we have another Angular application. So if I just run the localhost 4200, the UI will look like this, and if you go to the list page, it will route you to the list view, and it will just bring up the data returned by the web API itself. Okay, so I intentionally kept this routing part in this application to show you something like the URL rewriting process. Now let's dive into the deployment section. So first we will deploy the web API application, and go to Solution Explorer, right click on the project and click publish. Click the button publish. So it will publish in a folder. Just go to that folder, copy the files, and paste it where you want the application to be deployed. So I want the web API to be deployed in this physical location. So I am moving all the files here. Just copy that path, go to IIS, right click on the site, add website, give a site name, paste the physical path, and you have to assign a new port because the 80 port is already running for default website. So I'm just giving it like 8090. Click OK. Now just click on the newly created website and click the browse. Okay, so now we are running our application from IIS and another machine. I'm just pasting the URL. Now instead of localhost, I am writing my IP. And I have to mention the port, right? Because I deployed the application on that specific port. click enter. So see that that web API is also accessible with that IP address. Okay, because my machine has a public IP address. Now let me bring that data that we returned from that controller. See, all data is returning with that public IP address. Okay, so we gonna point this API path or Angular application. Okay, so this is the Angular application, and if I go to the web API services, right now the application is pointed to the local host. So I am just going to replace it with the newly pointed URL. For my web API, I am just replacing the local host with that public API URL. Okay, click save. Now I think I have to build it because I changed the URL, right? And also we want to deploy the Angular application, so we have to make a production build. For that, just npm run build prod. So it will do a production build. So the production build is done. So now go to the dist folder. So in this dist folder, we have to copy everything and we have to paste somewhere that we want our front end to be deployed. I am pasting here. I have to again copy the whole path. Go to IIS, create a new website, give the site name, paste the folder path, and we also have to mention a new port, right? We already explained like the 80 port is already reserved for the default website. So I'm giving the port as 8091 and click OK. Now if I just go to the new website and click browse, should bring the application. Okay, now if I click on go to list page, it is bringing all the list. Okay, and also as I told earlier that my machine has a public IP, so I also can access this application with a public URL. Okay, so I'm going to another machine and I'm just pasting the URL with that public IP, enter, boom. So I think our deployment is successful, and if you click on the go to list page, it will bring all the data from that API that we hosted already in IIS. Okay, but there is a catch. So you remember that I mentioned that I intentionally put that routing part in this project. So I have to show you something. So now if you click up reload, see, it's giving you a 404 file or directory not found. Okay, so why this is happening? So there is a concept called URL rewriting. So what URL rewriting does, so if you remember like how that Angular routing works, so Angular is a single page application, right? So how a single page application works, in a single page application, the whole application resides on a single HTML page, which is the index.html, right? And when you route through one component to another, what happens? Based on your routing, some component just appears on that HTML file and some just disappears. Okay, so Angular knows about that routing internally, but when you are deploying in IIS, your IIS has no idea like about that single page application routing. Okay, so when we are just writing that slash list and clicking enter. So the first request is going to IIS, and IIS trying to process it, and it is looking for a physical resource which is slash list. But in IIS there's nothing exist like slash list. Okay, so we have to tell IIS, like, in such scenario you have to redirect or rewrite this URL to index.html so that Angular can take over and it can do its internal routing. So how to do that? So we again have to go to IIS. So initially this URL rewrite module will not be there, so you have to download that IIS. I have that link. I will also share it in the description. So just go here and click on the x64 installer. It will download the module. You just click on it and it will start the installing process. So I already been installed on my IIS, so I am not going to click it. Okay, so after you install that IIS rewrite module on your IIS, you have to copy a file to your Angular directory. Okay, let me show you. I'm just pasting a file to the Angular application directory. I mean the deployment directory. Okay, so I will describe later like how this web config works, but now let me go to the another machine, and if I now refresh the application, that issue is not happening at all. So okay, so how this is working right now? So when we are writing the URLs slash list, so first this request is going to IIS. IIS taking the request, and it, based on some condition, it redirects this request to the HTML index.html file, which is in this directory, index.html. Okay, so if I open this web.config file, so there is a rewrite rule. Okay, a rewrite rule, and in this following conditions it will rewrite the request to the index.html file. Okay, so what are the conditions? The conditions are it actually for any non-file, for any non-directory, and for any URL that does not contain the word API, it will route all the request to the main entry point. That slash means main entry point. And what is the main entry point of our application? This is the index.html file here. So when we are writing this kind of URL in our browser and we're clicking enter, so IIS taking the request first, then IIS redirects this request to the index.html file, and then just Angular takes over and it does its own component routing over the index.html file. Okay, and that's all. That's how that URL rewriting process works. So for any kind of single page application, you have to put this web.config in the application directory. So by putting this web.config in your application directory, you are actually giving an instruction to the IIS, like for this following conditions, you have to redirect the request to the entry point of the application. So when the request is to the entry point of the application, which is index.html, then our single page application can handle the rest of the routing. Okay, so that's all we have for today. So we successfully deployed our Angular application and our web API in the IIS, and also we browsed that application from outside of that deployment PC with a public URL. Okay. And also, if you're facing any issues or if you have any concern, please let us know in the comment section. Hey there, if you find this content really helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to support even further, you can buy me a coffee. The link is in the description, or you can easily scan the QR code from the screen. I will really appreciate that. Thank you for being awesome. Goodbye.